Hello, dear community, and very welcome to our next innovation talk. It's a great pleasure for me to introduce somebody who has shaped innovation in Silicon Valley for more than 2 decades. Steve Westley is the founder and managing partner of the Westley Group, one of the leading venture firms in clean energy and sustainability with over 800 million US dollars under management. He's also an early investment in companies such as Tesla. Before that, he served as controller and CFO of the state of California, helping manage the world's 5th largest economy. Today, he is one of the most influential voices on the future of clean tech, the global energy transition, and the competitiveness of innovation ecosystem. Steve, it's really a great pleasure for me and for us that you took time to share your thoughts with us and help us understand what do we need in Europe, in Austria, to remain competitive and to move forward and to gain the share that we deserve and we can kind of enable for us. Thank you for being with us today.
Delighted to be here. And look, I'm excited. I'm the rare person who grew up in Silicon Valley when there was really nothing there 50 or 60 years ago, except for Stanford University, Hewlett-Packard, and a lot of fruit trees. But because we had a world-class university and a vision to the future and a little bit of tech background from a smattering of tech companies left over from World War II, Silicon Valley was able to leap into that future. And if there's one message for the Viennese and the Austrians, it is you must take risk. You must invest in the future. You have an extraordinary tradition in Austria, but you need to show a commitment to being part of this 21st century explosion of new ideas, technology, innovation. You have all the pieces to make it work. And I think and hope and am prepared to work with Austria to get you into that role as one of Europe's leading ecosystems for innovation.
Help us understand what's necessary for that, because basically the way I'm informed, kind of the whole world is fighting for you guys and your company to come into their ecosystems, to bring your know-how and to bring your knowledge and investment strategies that you have. You're willing to invest in Austria. What do we need to do to make it happen, and how do we move forward? Because obviously you seem to believe in our ecosystem, you seem to believe in the power of talent here, and you seem to believe that if we move, we can do it.
Well, I'm utterly convinced Austria can. You've got world-class universities, like TU and others. You've got one of Europe's most profitable and forward-looking utilities with Verbund. You have UBAG, the Sovereign Wealth Fund. We just need all the groups to get together and make a strong statement that we're not fooling around. We're not going to sit on our hands. We're committed. We're going to make the investments to bring in firms like ours or others to help set up shop and expand operations in Vienna. Just having 1 or 2 firms like ours that come from Silicon Valley that have had multiple multi-billion-dollar exits and a strong track record of success, that will serve as a magnet for more and more of your best and brightest to decide to stay there, and more people to say, hey, I just graduated from top universities and other places. I'm hearing Vienna is the place to go. So I think you've got all the pieces. Now it just takes a firm decision and commitment from the stakeholders to invest to bring firms like ours and others in. But people in London want us to come there. People in Munich want us to come there. There are other choices. We're basically looking to see who is the most serious about building that technology ecosystem. And I hope Vienna steps up. I love it there.
You think that Vienna would have a chance to have a technology leadership in Europe if we wake up, if we make this investment? Because of what I hear from our top CEOs and decision makers in Austria in the past 2-3 years, is a lot of carefulness about recession and the economic downturn. At the same time, we know the world outside Austria doesn't wait for us to solve the recession. We need to invest in the future, and we need to invest right now. Is there a window of opportunity still there for us? And how long is it going to be there? When does it close?
The window is absolutely open, but you need to move now. The future waits for no one. By the way, Silicon Valley today is on top of the technology and innovation world. But every night I lie awake worrying that someone is coming, most notably today, China. So we have to up our game. Otherwise, Silicon Valley won't matter as much. I think you might find it interesting, but we review 5,000 companies a year. That's a lot. And every quarter we may invest out of 1,250, maybe one or two. Hugely competitive. Of the last 10 investments we've made, 3 were in Europe. That's why we are taking the risk to open an office in Europe. We are betting on the European ecosystem. We think there's a whole generation of young people, and they don't want to just go to work for Deutsche Bank or Mercedes or Bayer. They want to start companies. I used to have 3 fellows work for me at eBay, and they were the Samwar brothers. They were the most entrepreneurial people I'd ever seen. These people don't just exist in Silicon Valley, they exist all over Europe. But Europe needs to get out of the mold of being conservative and careful on everything. They need to take risks. Otherwise, you will not be able to keep up with the future. If you do, your economy will go up, employment will boom, young people and the best and brightest will start coming to your country. Already, you have one of the most beautiful countries on the planet. The Economist magazine and others routinely say Vienna is the single best place in the world to live. But is it a place to live and retire for older people? Or is it a magnet for the next young entrepreneurs? Some of this will be decided by the government and major corporations in Vienna. I hope they'll step up. I'm confident they will. But you need to move quickly in this new world or others pass you by. And that goes for us in Silicon Valley as well as for Austria.
What would it take, if we can talk about numbers, what would it take for you guys to start an office in Vienna? What kind of commitment would you need also in terms of financial means for you to start the operations here if it's not confidential?
Pretty easy, and with us, everything we do is public. The current fund we're raising, and we've already closed on the first 10%, $50 million. It's a $500 million fund, but we just need to get a minimum of 25 or 30 million euros to be able to open a small office in Vienna or Munich or London. And obviously, if we get 50 million, we can do a larger office. So it really depends. We have many countries say, we're deeply committed. And we say, how committed are you financially? And they don't step forward. But I think this is not a large piece of money. The other thing is, of the 25 or 30 million we need, this is not upfront. We only call capital at our venture fund when we make investments. So the 30 million or 25 million euros would be divided up into 32 installments over 8 years. So this is not a very big annual commitment, but still, people must decide, right, do you wish to be in the game or do you wish to watch? Our general view, and this is the big takeaway for your audience. We're in the middle of a revolution in AI and data centers. At the same time, we're in the middle of a second revolution of the electrification of all auto, trucking, train, boat fleets. It's creating the largest demand for energy in human history and the biggest investment opportunities ever. And countries like Austria are either going to be surfing on the top of that wave, or they're going to get washed by it if they're not part of the action. I believe Austria understands this, and I think they'll step up. Hopefully they will, and will choose us, and we'll begin to start investing and creating jobs in the region.
I mean, this is a very interesting point. Maybe just an additional question to it, because I think you guys have been investing in clean tech since over 15 years when it wasn't such a hot topic as it is today. What makes this momentum today even more powerful, even more game-changing as it was maybe in the last 15 years? Is it the AI or also other factors?
So what's really made it game-changing, and I showed a slide on this when I was in Vienna last, is the demand for energy is going up greater than ever. Again, people understand that AI, data centers, electric vehicles, huge demand for energy. This creates real challenges for Verbund and other utilities that have to provide that energy. And it's doubly hard because everybody wants that energy to be greener. But here's the good news. The cost of solar is going down at a historic level no one has ever seen, dramatically cheaper than natural gas, coal, and nuclear. At the same time, the cost of wind has gone down, not quite as much, but the cost of batteries have gone down enormously. And that does two things. It enables every auto manufacturer in the world to start going electric, but it also means you can sell batteries to the utilities, and utilities can now provide solar, which is very cheap and good for the environment and green, but it's not base load power, and you must have solar and batteries together. But the cost of solar and batteries together have gone down so much. That is today a more attractive alternative than natural gas in almost any place in the world, including the US, where we have quite cheap natural gas. But I want to step back a bit. I grew up in Silicon Valley when there was nothing here. If you told people you were from Menlo Park, California, or Palo Alto, California, which is next door, people would say, huh? Where's that? No one says that anymore. Everybody understands that Silicon Valley has become a leader, in fact, synonymous with technology. If we can do that here over a relatively short 50-year period, because there was nothing here 50 years ago, you can absolutely do that in Austria, but it requires will, commitment, and moving quickly. I think you have those things.
One of the main factors for the success of the Silicon Valley is also the venture capital, the availability of capital in general. Do we need in Europe, or in particular in Austria, also any new legislation, new political legislation, or are all the ingredients here is just about real commitment and doing things that we kind of articulate and find important but don't really follow up in our actions?
Yeah. Look, I am just going to tell you, here are the 4 building blocks for Silicon Valley, and I've lived it every step of the way. Number 1, you need to have great universities. We were blessed in the Bay Area, the San Francisco Bay Area and Silicon Valley, to have Stanford University and Berkeley, University of California, Berkeley. That is a huge head start, but you have great universities in Vienna. Second, you need some level of government funding and support to start the flywheel. But I believe your Minister of Finance is an extraordinary elected official. I think he's a visionary. I think he sees the future, and your secretary. I think Vienna and Austria can find the funds. They're minimal to make this happen. Third, you need to have risk capital. Europe has many of the greatest banks in the world. They tend to be conservative and working off old models of providing loans and debt. You need to have what is called risk capital, and you already have a number of good venture firms in Austria, but you need to build out. In the United States, we have 10,000 venture firms.
Wow.
Maybe we only need 8,000, but I think in all of Austria, you might not have more than 20 or 30. So you must up your game there. The fourth thing that made Silicon Valley happen are immigrants. Silicon Valley became a magnet for the best and brightest people in the world, many of whom came to Stanford and University of California, Berkeley, and stayed. You need to be thinking bigger than just Austria for the Austrians. You need to be thinking about, can we attract the smartest people from IIT Delhi, from Tsinghua University in China, from Oxford and Cambridge, maybe from Columbia or Berkeley and Stanford in the US. You have one of the best, most vibrant cities in the world to launch from. There is no reason in the world you cannot do this. Just remember, universities, you've got them. Government support, I believe it's there, but you need to light a fire with your government to make sure they act.
Yes.
Third, you need to bring firms, whether it's us or someone else, to really make you go faster. You have good ones today, but it's not enough to keep up. And fourth, find ways to be a magnet for the best and bright of people outside of your country. If you look at who's leading the major companies in the United States today, over 50% are immigrants. America's a great country, but we didn't get there with just the locals. We got there because we had an open door from the best and brightest around the world.
Exactly. What we can also learn from you guys is to scale. And you have one of the companies in your portfolio, Enpal, really fantastic growth. I think one of the fastest growing companies in general, probably in Europe. What is their secret sauce? What can we learn from them? And how can we kind of scale better in Europe? Where do you see the decisive moments where we can improve?
So the two founders at Enpal, Mario Cole and Victor Wingert. By the way, one of them is German, and the other is an immigrant from Russia, Victor. There are two or three things that have made them successful. And again, this firm has grown from 105 million in revenues when we first invested to this year, $1.15 billion in revenue.
Wow.
And they're profitable.
Wow.
So they have out Silicon Valley. And the reason is they have complete immediacy. These are executives in a hurry. Most importantly, and this is important to understand and underscore, they have a no excuses culture. So many of our other companies, we can't do it. Winter's coming, it's a bad season. There's difficulties here. We have immigration issues. There's tariff issues. They have a complete no excuses culture. They set goals, they hit them, no excuses. People work hard. They're always talking about how do we see the future? Our current markets that have helped us so far, in the case of Enpal, they started off as the leading solar provider in Europe, but they quickly realized solar was becoming a commodity business. So they moved into solar and power walls. Great business. But it became commoditized too. Then they added heat pumps. That's doing extremely well. They're the largest heat pump provider in Europe. But they realized they must always continue to innovate. And they've moved into smart meters and what are called virtual power plant opportunities for their users. But this issue about a relentless commitment to innovate and to never be content with the status quo, that's what has moved Silicon Valley ahead. And Enpal has done that as well or better than any Silicon Valley company I've seen.
For the founders listening to our interview now, will the clean tech space offer enough and plenty of opportunities to start a company for somebody who wants to have impact in this field? Will there be enough? And where are these opportunities going to be? Is it going to be more in software area, in hardware area, in combination of both? Where do you see these opportunities?
So you want me to reveal all of my secrets to you?
Yes,
and your
please.
Okay, I will do that. Look, in this new world, there are no secrets. It's all about moving quickly. Yeah. And whether it's Austria deciding whether to commit to a venture firm or let Munich and others take the risk and the glory, time will tell. You must move quickly. You must make decisions. You must know where to focus. One of the things that's important is in the old world, people would always think about manufacturing and doing it all internally. The new world is about software, IoT, even in the energy space. Solving the world's energy challenges is not just about building 4 more nuclear reactors and 5 more natural gas plants. It's more about manufacturing the electrons based on the time of day. It's about creating a circular economy for all of your mineral use, so you're not always having to take up more lithium for every new battery you made, but you can take the old ones and recycle them. It's a combination of new technologies combined with new business models, combined with entrepreneurship and risk-taking. If you can do that, Austria's potential is unlimited. Look, Great Britain, and I'm half English, is a rocky island that grows next to nothing. But they figured out how to dominate maybe a third of the planet for 2 or 3 centuries, largely because they use technology more efficiently than others. Austria can do the same thing. You must put your mind to it. You must take risks, and you must be willing to step in the future. No one is going to give you that opportunity. You must seize it.
I think if I'm self-critical to our kind of Austrian culture and society, I think the moving fast aspect is not really one of our main assets or one of our main virtues. So I'd like to ask you to really maybe double down on this message. How important is to move fast, and what does it mean to move fast? Is moving fast moving in the next 3 years, or is it moving in the next 3 months? Can we have it kind of more with a with a date?
Yeah. Look, winning today is all about speed. I told the story when I was last in Vienna. My father always told me, Steve, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And in the 1970s, that was good advice because things didn't change very quickly. Take that advice, throw it right out the window. What Steve Jobs has said, and I grew up with Steve Jobs. I knew him well. I had dinner with him, sat next to him at dinner. He said, if you're not busy obsoleting your business model today, someone else is. Austria today has a fine economy of tourism, banking, great food, but you need a new technology model for the 21st century. And that means attracting the best and brightest people to your universities, giving them risk funding to start companies there so your smartest people don't race off to London or Munich or Berlin. They stay in Austria and you begin to attract others from other places. You can do it, but the government needs to lead by example, along with hopefully some of your other large companies like Verbund, Raiffeisen Bank, UBOG, your sovereign wealth fund. Everybody needs to stop waiting for someone else to lead, but lead by example.
Fantastic. That's one of the really core messages. One thing that you mentioned at the event that Verbund organized was also the question of speed in your strategic processes. I think you mentioned, I don't know whether it was with Empal or with one of other your portfolio companies, that if you need a year to kind of come up with your strategy, you are too slow. These things need to move fast, not only commitment to the capital, but also strategic decisions that we need to make.
We talked about this a lot. By the way, and I think Michael Strugel, the head of Verbund, gets this. Yeah. Utilities are conservative by their nature, but I think Michael Strugel is one of the best executives I have seen. I think he could not only run any utility in the world, but he could run a lot of technology companies. He understands the importance of speed in the future. This is what you need to have happen in Austria, because if you need a month to decide, that's okay. If you need a year, the world passes you by. I was asked when I was in Vienna, my gosh, Steve, you were an early investor in Tesla, and you served on the board. Is Elon Musk really brilliant? That must be it. And I said, look, he's a really smart guy, but there are many people in this room today as smart as he is. People are shocked. I said, the difference is Elon works at light speed. He is incredibly impatient, sometimes too much so. With Elon, he may not get every decision right, but he is moving at a colossal pace. We would all do well to learn from him. Steve Jobs, the same thing. The number of industries that Steve Jobs disintermediated, computers, phones, media and music, movies, mind-boggling. The same thing with Musk. And the punchline is, in the past, you could get pretty far by being smart. Today and in the future, you need to be smart and move quickly.
Fantastic. So on the, to wrap up our conversation, smart and move quickly. You mentioned Munich, you mentioned London, who also want to have you there. You obviously also would like to have an office in Vienna. How fast do we need to make a decision? Where can we approach you? What can we do to make it happen together?
Great. So this is why I've come now to Vienna multiple times. We're now raising, we have 10% of our fund raised. By the end of the year, I think it'll be 20%. And by the end of Q1, maybe 50%. We are reasonable people. We'd really love to make Vienna work. I love this city. I love the country. I used to work with Governor Schwarzenegger. And by the way, if there's any person who knows how to envision the future and make it happen, it's him. As long as we know whether there's a commitment or not, by the end of Q1, then we can move forward. As long as we know it's coming and people are real, it's really my first choice. But partnerships are a two-way street. So if we hear back in that time frame, I think things will be good. I have my fingers crossed. I hope to spend more time with you.
Thank you very much. And thank you for taking time tonight, sharing your thoughts with us. I think these are really, really, really important, powerful messages. It's not a science fiction, but it's something that just needs to be done and can be done if we take it really seriously and understand the urge. Otherwise, other economies will take the market shares that we could also have for our wealth in Austria.
I want to leave your viewers with this. We're in the middle of a revolution of AI, data centers, the electrification of all of the world's global fleets is creating the biggest economic opportunities in history. There is a wave of technology coming. You're either going to be riding the wave on the top or get washed away by it. It's a lot better to be riding it on the top. You know what to do. And I think Austria has led in so many fields in the past 3 or 4 centuries. I think it's Austria's time to lead again.
Steve, I hope our next interview can take place at your office opening here in Vienna. Wish you all the best for that and hope to see you soon.
You have my commitment to do the first interview if we're lucky enough to have support and to be able to come to Austria. Thanks so much for letting me be on.
Thank you. Thanks for taking your time and all the best. Hope to see you soon. Thank you and ciao, ciao.
All right. Thank you. Auf Wiedersehen.